Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about Enneagram wings. So you may have heard somebody say, I'm a 7-wing 8, I'm a 2-wing 3, I'm a 4-wing 5, and it didn't make any sense to you. Well, in this video, I'm going to break down what the wings are and just give you a good overview picture of how this colors our personality beyond our core type. And it really becomes a subtype that's more specific to who we are than just understanding our main type. So let's get into it. To start, let's jump over to this. So the wings are notated with a W most times. Sometimes they write it all the way out. But essentially you have your core type and then your wing type notated next to your core type. So as I've written here, we have a 1-wing 2. That's a core 1 with the wing of a 2 that they're identifying with, or you can see those traits in their personality. So the wings are always the types right next to the core type around the circle of the Enneagram. So when looking at the 1, it does circle around and touches the 9. So its two adjacent types is the 9 and the 2. So as a type 1, you could have a 9-wing or you could have a 2-wing. You would never see a 2, or let's say, stick with 1. So you'd never see like a 1-wing 7, a 1-wing 5. We're looking at what is nearby. So one aspect of the Enneagram is how everything is laid around the circle. It is considering types that are kind of naturally occurring in our human nature that, we exhibit some of the traits around us, just how things are laid out. They're kind of like families. I've heard it described as like colors, like color families, like varieties of blue, varieties of red, varieties of green or orange, So yeah, there's a lot of thought that went into the placement of how certain numbers or certain traits are around the circle near each other. So everybody has access to their wings right next to them. That's some traits that they could see in themselves, kind of lean toward as well. But still, your core motivations determines your core type, which, core fear, core desire, core weakness, core longing you relate to. That childhood story, that real life journey lens that you're looking through will still always be your core type. But when looking at the wings, we all lean toward one dominant wing. We may lean, for me, I'm a type 2. I lean towards type 3. I can see type 3 in me a lot, to the point that I was questioning, am I a 3? But when looking at the core motivations, I'm like, no, I'm definitely a 2. A 2 hits home, but a 3 is very much an aspect of who I am too. So, it's also not based on health or unhealth. It's not as I get healthy, I move to the other wing. It's like, no, I just become, a healthier 2, and I'm exhibiting healthier traits of the 3. But yeah, as a 2, I can see unhealthy traits of the 3 in me. As I become healthier, I just rise in health within what I am. So innately, we are a core type and we have a dominant wing. So yeah, as you listen to this video, kind of listen for what you identify with, what you can kind of see in yourself, or just even if this video just gives you a picture of the color wheel, the variety that there is within this amazing typology. So yeah, let's look at, this is just our core types again, all 9 types. These main names that I've introduced in a previous video. This is from Russ Hudson and Richard Rizzo, The Wisdom of the Enneagram, the Enneagram Institute. Also really love their personality types book. I love it the most, actually. I've been listening to the audiobook, and it gives an incredible view of the levels of health within the types. But yeah, I really like their names that they've given the types. And then I'm also going to show you the names of the subtypes when looking at the wings, to help you get the picture of all of the types. So just looking at this, These overall umbrella terms, like I'll look at the 2 as a 2. So I'm the helper type, also having the achiever in me. Then we'll move on to, I want to show you guys this right here. So this is all 18 types, with like one keyword describing, like an archetypical description of what that subtype is like when you start mixing the neighboring types together. So let's just start with type 1. So type 1, we've got the 1 mixed with the 9, and you get an idealist. And then the 1 mixed with the 2, which is the advocate. So the 1 mixed with the 9, you're bringing in that kind of withdrawn, escape from reality, keep the peace, conflict avoidant sort of nature in them, being mixed in with the reformer, the core type of the reformer. And you get an idealistic reformer. So they're more withdrawn, more introverted, more reforming through, visualizing the ideal and wanting to bring the ideal in themselves out, or the ideal in the world. It's that dreamer kind of futuristic element that's added to the reforming one. And yeah, I would say it's the more introverted of the two type 1s. And then our type 1 with the 2 wing, you're mixing the reformer with the helper, which is a more extroverted type who is wanting to be of service to people, wanting to be an advocate is the term used for them. So they're more social, they're more rooting for others. They are reforming still, helping people do the right thing, but they very much are more people focused than just focused on the ideal of how the world should be, and bringing forth the ideal picture. They're kind of reforming people maybe a bit more. Like you could picture that as like fixing people, being an advocate for people, bringing out what they see in people, maybe like they're advocating for reform and helping their group of people, I guess is one way to kind of see that. There's a lot more to explore in this, and I'm still studying the subtypes to really get a better picture of all 18, but just this to be a bit of a brief picture of seeing these things merge together. So type 2 being a helper, not focusing on this, self needs, but on the needs of others, and then helping them meet their needs and being in tune with people. You're getting a 2 that has that. You're getting a 1 that has those traits of the 2 mixed together. And they're still led by that inner critic, and not wanting to do wrong, wanting to be integral. That's still first, but you have a more extroverted, focused on others kind of bent that is a part of their personality as well. And let's see. Next, we'll get on to type 2. Type 2 can be mixed with type 1. The wings, we got 1 and 3 on the sides of 2. So whenever 2 mixes with 1, you get a servant archetype. And this would be, out of the 2, the more introverted of these 2 options. 3 is a very outgoing, kind of assertive archetype, I guess you could call it. So the 2 mixed with the 1 wing is a more dutiful one who's more focused on right and wrong, wanting to do things correctly, is just attuned to that more so. So it's a bit more rigid, I guess you could say, and serving in a more dutiful, integral sort of way. So doing things the right way. Could be a bit more routine in that sense. This is a bit stereotypical, so there's room to move in what I'm describing, but just so you can see it. Yeah, that core 2 is the helper, the giver. Yeah, so they're very much giving to get is kind of the weakness of type 2. To get value for themselves through giving is when in unhealth. I will say it's not a summation of the type's potential. So, but that 2 being attuned to others, being very, aware of other people's emotions, other people's needs, meeting those needs, but doing it in a correct way, in a dutiful way. Yeah, that kind of inner critic is there telling them that right moral path, I guess, and them wanting to stay true to that is kind of makes them more introverted, more rigid in a sense. In comparison, I would say, to the 2-wing 3. So getting into the 2-wing 3, 2-wing 3 is called the host or the hostess. As I mentioned before, this is my core type, so I could probably go on and on about it. Yeah, the 3 being incorporated into the 2, we're now bringing in like this success orientation, this being focused on getting goals done, feeling accomplished when doing something, completing something. Could have like workaholic tendencies, being more image conscious, focused on how things appear to others, wanting to be admired by other people. It can be a little more superficial in comparison to the 2-wing 1. Yeah, as a tendency, almost a weakness to focus on just the outside image of things, than the more dutifulness, integrity of the 2-wing 1 as a starting place, I guess to say. Yeah, so how this shows up in me, I'll try to be brief, but I can definitely see this image consciousness, this fixated on, did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish? Did I do what I set out to do? Yeah, feeling like my identity is somewhat attached to my to-do list. I can relate to that a lot as a 2-wing 3. Yeah, so there's a lot to that. I'll move on just because I could make a whole video on just that one type. So, and I will one day. But yeah, so as you can tell, there is a difference. I guess I could talk about it's a more extroverted type. It makes this 3 be more of a doer, being more just like out there doing something in the community. The host aspect of it, I can really see this, like wanting to host community, wanting to host good experiences for other people. That's a big thing that I highly relate to, wanting to, like, I don't know, I'm always thinking about that. What is the experience I'm giving to other people? I'm hosting the experience that other people will have, and I can be a little too superficial or self-focused. It can become about me in my hosting, or if people take something well, then look, I have value. It's that thing that the 2 and the 3 are both in the heart triad. They're both in that worth and self-image and that whole area. So yeah, I've got both of my core sort of types fall in the same life struggle, I guess. So, but yeah, big thing in health is still hosting. I want to host community. I want to host people. I want to host people connecting with God. That's a big thing in my heart. So yeah, that's an aspect. I'm a worship leader too, so it's like hosting the presence of God. Yeah, it feels like a lifelong thing that, like, I highly relate to not only, oh, I'm a helper, I'm a giver, absolutely, but host is just more tailored in for me. So that's my self-report on that type. All right, on to type 3. Type 3 can be mixed with type 2 and type 4. And so the core type of type 3 is the achiever. And whenever the 3 is mixed with the 2, it becomes a charmer, sort of more people-focused, extroverted version of the type. So just, I kind of will keep saying that our 3-wing 2 is more extroverted than our 3-wing 4. Because the 2 is a people-focused sort of type. So in them wanting to appear successful, to be admired, but they also want to be helpful. They want to, make a difference in community, and they kind of become a charmer of people, and they're the performer, performing for people, charming people, giving people a good time, good experience. It makes them feel valued back, and very similar to the 2-wing 3. And again, it just comes back to what are your core motivations to like really lock down which of the two. It took me a while to know between, am I a 3-wing 2 or am I a 2-wing 3? So yeah, similarities there for sure. But that core, being being successful, being admired, being, a high achiever, being the best is very, high up there for type 3s. Like that ranking, like, am I doing well in society's view or perspective? All right, so on to 3-wing 4. When we're mixing it with the individualist, you get more of a professional, a more introverted 3 who is focused on their own creativity, their own image, how they show up, their own work, their life work, The 3 is very much about work. It's about being successful, but in their own unique way. So it's their professionalism, which is a more withdrawn, introverted approach than the charmer who's out there just with people, kind of performing for people, enjoying the vibes, the connecting, being liked, getting that feedback, from people constantly. That's kind of that 2-3 and 3-2 sort of world. But yeah, so we're moving into the 4 now. You're getting a more professional, put together, unique creativity, a unique flair on whatever they're doing. They're, more in touch with their creativity, their own emotions, and communicating that in their work, So yeah. Now moving on to type 4. Type 4, we have the 4 with a 3 or the 4 with a 5. So 4 with a 3, you get an aristocrat. And then 4 with a 5, you're getting a bohemian. So just looking at the differences in that. So our 4 with a 3, it would be the more extroverted of the two. And this type is kind of like in their uniqueness, in their own like image that they've built, their own creativity, their own pursuit of like who I am and being an individual. They're more success oriented. They're more kind of climbing the ladder. They're more ambitious. Yeah, I would say ambition in some type of external way. It's characteristic of the 3 is in them. So aristocrat, I could actually look up to get a bit of a better definition of that word. Let's see. Aristocrat. I guess the best thing I could pull from, it's like holding high social rank, I think, is what's most descriptive of what it would mean in this context. That, having like exquisite taste, and there's that individualist mixed with like I'm successful and I know the thing that I identify with. So how it shows up in the 4, it's that particularness of what makes me me and that ambition. So just all the more how I described that the 3 with the 4 wing can be kind of this way, all the more the 4, who is the individualist, who's very success oriented as well, their individuality is kind of superior in a way as they're defining who they are. Like they found like the best of what they, want in their life. That is like, this is me, So the more they define that, the more aristocratic they become, I guess. That's my best attempt in describing what that is. So, and then moving into 4 with a 5 wing, we've got the bohemian. So now we're getting into the head triad. We're getting into like being knowledgeable, philosophy. So still the core type is an individualist, and taking on the traits of the 5, they're individualistic about their philosophies, their understandings. They're exploring their beliefs and studies and allowing that to define their individuality. So think of it as it's more introverted, it's more internally, introspectively focused instead of success, externally focused on, measurable things that society would deem successful. That the 4 with the 3 wing is kind of leaning toward that, I can't say the word right, aristocracy, I guess. This is more intellectual. That they're individuating more in their philosophies, in their ways of life. The bohemian, they're just like that, kind of wandering and finding who they are through exploring ways of seeing the world. It's more of a mental sort of space, and the mental and the emotional. So this is a core heart type who's in touch with the head too, secondarily. So that's what that looks like. So on to type 5. Now we've got that 5 with the 4, iconoclast. This is kind of makes me think about like that superiority sort of thing a bit, but it's being kind of like against, it's tearing down beliefs, tearing down, like, how do I describe this? It's willing to look at everything and to reassess it, to be kind of skeptical, to I'll even look this word up too, because it's a bit new to me too as well. But yeah, it's attacking like cherished beliefs. So they're just questioning things. They're it's that individual sort of like type 4 thing, individuating in their philosophy. So as you'll see, even in how I'm describing these, I'm having a bit of trouble in describing the 4 with the 5 different from the 5 with the 4, but it's adding to the core. So they're kind of similar. How the bohemian has pulled away mentally and is exploring mentally, exploring their own emotions. Same way now our 5 is kind of doing it too, that same way with their individuality, but they're more in their head. They're more dealing with fear than dealing with shame and who am I. They're more exploring like, understanding everything, questioning everything, looking at the conventions, the institutions, and kind of tearing it apart a bit to understand it, to relook at it, wanting to like really dig into stuff. So these are 2 withdrawn types. 5 and 4 both are withdrawn. They're more introverted. And yeah, that's how that can manifest for our 5-wing 4. And then our 5 could also be a 5-wing 6, which is considered the problem solver. So we're getting into thinking through all the things that could go wrong that is in our type 6, seeing all the different perspectives, all the different angles of something. And that core type 5, who is the investigator, really looking into things, detaching, going up in their mind, and making sense of, becoming an expert in things, really chewing on something, and then bringing in the characteristics of the 6 for the 5. It looks like just thinking ahead, thinking into the future, simulating things out, and finding solutions. Yeah. And then on to our type 6. Type 6 mixed with the 5, they're called the defender. So our core type 6 is a loyalist. They're very community oriented. They find safety in community. As I said, we're getting into the head triad, so it's kind of fear related. So finding certainty and security is still first and foremost for type 6. But they're also more analytical. So this would be the more introverted type. I was mentioning the introvert and extrovert stuff. So on type 5 with the 6-wing is the more extroverted of the two, because type 6 is a community oriented type. It's out there solving problems for others, is kind of how that would manifest. Solving something outside of the self, versus the 4 is more internal, philosophizing, understanding the self, understanding their belief systems and stuff. So yeah, back onto type 6 though. When you're bringing in that 5 into the 6, they're becoming a defender, that they are analyzing and looking ahead, and they're protective of their communities. They're analyzing on behalf of their communities. They're more introverted, thinking through things. Type 6 is very much that problem solver, looking ahead for negative outcomes, kind of in a state of worry. And bringing that 5-wing in, they are analyzing a lot, researching, gathering knowledge, to make sure that they are safe and to protect others. So this is the more knowledgeable researcher version of the 6. And so all the more, they become a defender, as opposed to the 6 with the 7-wing is going very much extroverted, and it's called the buddy. So when we think of type 7 being mixed in, type 7 is running out to pleasure, good experiences, enjoying themselves, going away from pain into pleasure, enjoying good moments with people, keeping the moods up, So when you got a type 6 who's that core kind of worry type, thinking ahead through everything that could go wrong, a 6 with a 7-wing is more social, is more kind of escaping negative things, can be a little more distracted, or wanting to distract themselves from the things that they fear a bit, and just being a buddy, being out there with people a bit more. So yes, they have that core 6 struggle, but they're more in the community. They're more, kind of out there, present, enjoying good moments too, to kind of deal with their anxieties a bit. That is an element coloring their personality. What else can I say about that? Not too much at the moment. So yeah, on to type 7. Type 7, their core name is the enthusiast, just as the type. So now when you're taking type 7, mixing it with type 6, You're getting that loyalist sort of aspect to them, that they're loyal to people, their community, that, kind of being out there, being fun with people, being connected with people, being an entertainer, lifting people's spirits. This is probably the 7. I think that's the sort of stereotype of the overall 7 might fall under, is a 7-winged 6. That's like a people person. And these are both like in the fear, anxiety, head triad. Both of these types are both in, that sort of space. And yeah, so the 7-winged 6 is with their friends in the community, entertaining, lifting spirits, having a good time, to escape from the things that they don't want to deal with. Yeah, looking at the bright side of life. It's not a negative thing, It's definitely awesome things about type 7, and that mixed with the 6. Yeah, there could be that like attachment to beliefs, attachment to finding security in belief systems or community, having those people to bounce ideas off of, to get, kind of direction. There's that aspect of the 6 that's there. I don't know if I said that much about type 6 before, but that's a core thing for them, is finding stability, finding reassurance, of what plan of action, guidance, I think is the best word for type 6. So that's still kind of under there for our 7-wing 6. Being in their community, being involved in their community, lifting their community up, sort of bent. And then we've got the 7-wing 8. This is bringing in that challenger, more guttural instinct side into the more head triad place that they, live in, mostly as a 7. So they're more of a realist. They're more confrontational. They're more tell it like it is kind of version of the 7. They're more direct and outspoken. They're less attached to some like community to create their stability like type 6 is. They're more like out there doing their own thing. They stay independent. They take care of themselves. They're more blunt, I guess, is one way to describe what it's like to add in that 8 to the 7. Yeah, so we're getting more into that gut triad sort of mix, that they're more impulsive, I think. Type 7 is impulsive in general, but the 7 with the 6 kind of comes back to, the safety of a group. So 7 with the 8 is more rogue, more out doing their own thing, more, just that different energy that you're bringing in. And then let's get on to type 8. Type 8, their core type is called the challenger. And now coloring 8 with 7, you've got the independent person. Like all the more, as I just described, the realist of the 7-wing 8. The 8 core thing is, I will not be weak. I will not be vulnerable. That is, that's not something I'm willing to, allow myself to be taken advantage of, sort of place. And then the 7, that is, take care of myself, sort of. It goes with the independence. It's just really, you think about the 8-wing 7 is the most independent type on the Enneagram. They're the most high energy, passionate type possible to mix. What's the term? They are assertive types. Type 8, 7, and 3 are the assertive types. So yeah, we've got our biggest type here. That like passion for, intense experiences and then new experiences, Seven's always looking for something new to do. It's looking for, something to fill them up, something that's gonna make them happy, So the 8 with the 7 wing goes after what they want. They tell it like it is, sort of independence. They independent in expression, in life, in not depending on someone, being self-sufficient, sort of mixture between the two. And then 8 with a 9 wing, we've got that more pull back, avoid conflict mix with our independent challenger, powerful type. So it's more of an introverted, more subdued type. I'm noticing I'm kind of falling off on the which one's extroverted, which one's introverted. So back on 7, filling in information here, y'all. I think between the two, the 7 with the 6 and the 7 with the 8, the 7 with the 8 is more extroverted for sure. Yeah, the 8 with the 7 is the most extroverted of the two. Now coming down to 8, the 8 with the 7 absolutely is the most extroverted, and then the 8 with the 9 is more introverted, more power under control, more not wanting to cause unnecessary conflict, but is very in control of their own life, and they become a protector. It probably fits that stereotype. Type 8 generally has been called they're protective, they're protectors. But I've heard the type 8 with a 9 wing called the mama bear, like watching out for those that are weak, or as in who can't defend themselves. Not to say that they're weak, but the 8 is watching out for the innocent in a sense, looking out for others. And what else about 8 with a 9 wing? So bringing in the 9, the peacemaker, not wanting to have conflict, watching out for just keeping things kind of even keel, taking care of themselves, being self-sufficient of the 8, but kind of withdrawing. What other 9 traits? Yeah, being more withdrawn, being more idealistic can kind of come in a bit in that, but I guess that's the introversion, more introspective, I think is what I'm saying. It's less like in your face kind of energy, like the high energy all the time. It can be just like power under control, more just like I'm strong, I'm here, don't mess with me, I won't mess with you kind of energy. I can take care of myself, and I can take care of you too if you make me, but like I'm not seeking a fight all the time. That sort of energy. Yeah, I think that represents them well. So, yeah. All right, on to type. Let's see, type 9. 9 with an 8 wing is called the referee. Then 9 with a 1 wing is called the dreamer. And the overall umbrella of type 9 is the peacemaker. So this is conflict avoidant, going to sleep to the self in order to keep the peace, sort of place, what other, not wanting to create waves outside of themselves or inside themselves. And so taking that 9 and then mixing it with the 8, we get a referee. So there is that, like, I'll stand up for people. The 9s can kind of be that way in general, like looking out for, other people, like wanting other people to have a voice, I think is a good way to describe 9s in general. So the 9 with the 8 wing, you see that in them more, that protector kind of referee. The 8 can pop up and do something about, something that's not right. They can speak for other people, and they can be more outspoken. This is the more extroverted type. but still the 9 is just kind of going, going with the flow, kind of merging, forgetting the self. But there's this stronger side in this 9 with an 8 wing that can show up in the referee archetype. And then last but not least is our 9 with the 1 wing. So as we talked about, the 1 with the 9 wing being the idealist, the 9 with the 1 wing, the dreamer, is kind of similar. It's highlighting that aspect of going in the head, idealizing people, idealizing situations, falling in love with the ideal, going to sleep to reality that is said that 9s can do, to kind of numb out, to make everything kind of flatline. They have their own idealized dream world of what everything is like, and that's reality to them, because they can kind of go into a place of not wanting to deal with reality. So having a dream version of how everything is allows them to keep the peace a lot easier in their, I guess, as a way of life. Them living in a space of a dream, it's real to them. So it can be startling to like shake that and wake them up. They could not want you to do that at all. You could meet the anger of the 9 if the 9 is in a dream state. So again, in how I've kind of summarized all of these, I've could have hit some like the unhealthy sides of them, but it's not the whole picture. All of these types can be in health and then unhealth. That's a whole spectrum to look at. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a general overall picture of the wings, the kind of color wheel of the Enneagram, to just show you that, yeah, there's a lot of uniqueness in who we are, in all the states that we're in. And yeah, people are beautiful, people are different, and I hope this has inspired you to want to understand people, to be more gracious with people. Yeah, just to know where people are coming from. I've gotten a lot of incredible value from studying the Enneagram, and it really is a study, because as I'm talking through this, like there's so much to humanity and who we all are. And I'm learning every day as I'm teaching. So, but I hope you got value out of the wings today. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. If you feel like you related to a particular one and you can already like see yourself, comment below. Which type do you feel that you are? What resonated with you? And yeah, so that's it for this video. I'll continue elaborating on all of this as I learn more myself. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see y'all on the next one.